Welcome back to the All Out NRL Fantasy Podcast. Round 4 already, Dor. The season is actually flying, mate. And after round 3, it was quite a disgusting week for fantasy coaches. Lots of injuries. Cleary went down with a 4 on Thursday night. We were sitting at the Hamo Hotel for those Brisbane locals, absolutely crying our eyes out. Dor, mate, how are you?
I'm good, Cord. And yes, it was a real shocker of a week,
mate.
really. Way too many HIAs, injuries. And then, yes, if you didn't blow your team up for Payne Haas, you also suffered there in that regard as well. The all-out team was just riddled with poor luck.
You couldn't have scripted it worse for the all-out team this week, to be honest. We got a Cleary 5, and let's actually go back to the Thursday morning, because we were tossing and turning the whole time. Do we get Payne Haas? Do we not? Is he a must-have? He was, obviously.
He was a must-have.
106 points or whatever it was, 212 if you captain him, and we took the price because we are now ranked 9,100th overall. We're not out of it, mate. We're not out of it at all, but
No.
it's going to be a tough grind to get back here.
Well, especially this week as well. There's a fair few players that did get those injuries or HIAs or have the bye in terms of those Newcastle players. So, yes, it's going to be a tough week this week for coaches.
Oh, for sure, mate. I mean, Watson out injured, Cleary out injured, Greg Marju out with a bye, Ponga with the bye, Hubner's still out. So there's a few issues here for the all-out team. But you know what? We will persevere,
And
we will come through the other side.
Goz is still named.
Yeah, Goz is still named. I actually think he played better than Piakura on the weekend, which is pretty hard to do.
Yeah, well, he did cross for another try, but he did cross for a try and only get 21 points.
Yeah. Shout out to the All Out League winner, Luke R, who has a stunning team here, overall rank of 14. So the number one person isn't in the All Out League, which is going to cost him a hat at this rate. He's got Watson, Captain Payne Haas. So you're doing wonders there. Didn't have Nathan Cleary, so a good chance that is why he is leading the All Out League there. But, mate, really quickly, your personal team, is it going really well as well?
It was going all right. I lost again to someone that captained Payne Haas, so that was a bit unfortunate. But look, yeah, personal team. No, I had Watson, I had Cleary, so I suffered in that regard. I didn't have Marzu, but I did have Ponga, and then now with the news that we're about to discuss soon, as well, Keeney. So yeah, there's a few issues now with my team, but look. We'll get through it, brother. We will get through it.
We will persevere. And a quick one for this podcast. We will go through the team list really quickly. Viewer questions as well. And make sure to like and subscribe. Follow the Instagram. The Instagram Reels are absolutely flying at the moment, and it's doing really well with the views. And I hope the content that we're putting out, everyone is enjoying, because it is quite funny to us, isn't it, Dor?
It is. It is. Yeah, those... there was a good 3 memes there, or 3 reels that
memes.
are absolutely going ham sandwich too in regards to Payne Haas, and then one was what was it, Joey Johns, wasn't it?
The Joey Johns
Joey
one.
Johns ones, yeah. So no, but should we get into TLT?
We
brother?
will fly with the TLT, and with the most important news of the week is the Rabbitohs-Panthers game. And you look down this Panthers list and you think, my oh my, where is this team gone from a few years? Nathan Cleary obviously out with the concussion. Trent Tolau, is that how you pronounce it? Tolau. He's not a buy, obviously, with Nathan Cleary coming back next week, but one to note there for those that might be wanting a cheapie.
Oh,
don't go there.
Yeah, no, don't go there, but definitely one to watch in future years.
It's good to see the youngsters coming through.
Yeah, he's a very, very talented player. He was very good in the trials as well, so... Yeah, definitely don't buy him, but definitely one to watch, Gord.
For the Rabbitohs, before we get to the Rabbitohs, it was good to see Isaiah Yeo come back to his good form with a 60 or something last week. We knew a lot of people wanted to sell him for Payne Haas, and you would be silly not to after his 106, but it's good to see him back into good form there.
We always knew Yeo was going to come back. He was a strong hold on the buy.
He was a strong hold. The easiest hold of the year.
Yeah, you could have, as Cord said, you could have definitely traded him to Payne Haas, but like if you could have got Payne Haas in other measures or other means, definitely would have done so. Another thing on the Panthers, Cord, before we go to the Bunnies, is that Casey McLean has been dropped. He's now gone to 18th man. So Laurie, who was a late exclusion last week, he's back at fullback. Jenkins moves into the centres, and Alamotti moves to the wing. So that's basically it with the Panthers. So you can touch on the Bunnies. Yeah, you're going to say, brother.
It's good to see Alex Johnson back
Yes.
from his Achilles injuries for the Rabbitohs. I wouldn't be picking him up if you were looking for fantasy terms, but it's just good to see him back.
100%,
Yeah.
but it's not good seeing Campbell Graham out with a leg injury this week.
He's had no luck, has he?
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, Cord, Alex Johnson's back, so Tass moves from the wing into the centres, and Campbell Graham is out of the team this week.
Roosters, Titans, moving on, Door, and my Titans had a fantastic win on the weekend. We are back.
They were special.
I picked up Jaden Campbell. Lovely buy for me. He was outstanding on the weekend. We did touch on the Roosters just there before with Connor Watson being out with concussion, which means Zach Dockett-Clay moves into the starting side. Again, not a buy. Connor Watson moved back to his 80-minute role next week.
Yep.
And I think we're going to get a lot of questions in the viewer questions later on. Is Cleary and Watson sells? I only would sell them to Payne Haas. If you're not doing that, you're holding.
Yeah.
Is my sort of
I'm going to try
synopsis on that.
I'm trying to get Payne Haas in and other means for my personal team, but I'm going to be holding Cleary. They've got such a good run. He might lose a bit of money, but he's a certified gun, so I'm going to be holding him.
100%, mate. And for the Titans, Keanu Kenny is actually out this week with a neck injury, and we'll see the specialist in it coming days for those that have Kenny like yourself, Door. So
I'll just be waiting until I get that news from the specialist. And then once I get the news from the specialist, which it probably come either tomorrow or Thursday, and then I'll make my decision depending on how long he's going to be out for. If he's out for over like 2-3 weeks, like if he's like a 6, for example, like Mr. Lucas, I'll definitely be moving on.
Yeah, we're going to the game. Are you going to the game on Friday night, Broncos Fins?
Not yet.
Wow.
But big night on Saturday night, so
big night. Yeah,
so
true.
I was trying to
true
play it in. But the other thing, Cord, just with those with the Roosters side there, like you said, with the Docker-Clay starting at hooker, but another big inclusion is Nat Butcher coming in onto the bench, and then another thing to wonder about is also with Lindsay Collins, who was a late exclusion last week for the Roosters on the bench. And Nafu White, obviously, I'm an owner of Nafu White, and I really did enjoy those extra minutes, that try, and his performance. So it will be interesting to see how it goes, especially like Sua Wong. I know he's a bit of a pod for some, and a bit of a cheapie as well.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see with Nat Butcher now back on the bench how his minutes go, because I think Nat Butcher's minute will eat into Wong's minutes. And I'd say Collins is going to do a bit of that with White and Lenu. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, like you said, De Groot just comes in for Keeney. Khan Pereira and Jolliffe still sidelined. They're not back yet. So
yeah, perfect. Good to see that those that were on David Feeder still sold him after another 39 performance there with a try. So good to see those. If you listened there, listeners, Dolphins, Broncos on the Friday night. Reece Walsh has escaped suspension with just a fine for his high shot on
$3,000 fine.
Murray Talangi, was it?
Murray Talangi, yep.
He escapes. He's in the starting lineup. Dolphins, look, they're searching for something here. It's the same 17 with Jack Bostock and Fino Fuiaki returning from injury. Where to for the Dolphins, mate? I think they're going to get the spoon at this rate.
Yeah,
they're struggling.
It's not looking good. It's basically the same 17 or 18 as it was last week. It's just that, Fine Fukiaki and Jack Bostock were late inclusions. And then with the Broncos, the Kantoni Staggs is back. So that's a big in. And Shibasaki keeps his spot, which is great news.
That's good news for cheapie owners there.
Yeah, for cheapie owners. And Mariner moves. Mariner's the one to make way, and he moves to 19th man. But with the Finns, Cord, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, Lemuelu's still going to be out for a couple more games, but I don't really think that's the thing which is holding them back. I think the Hammer needs to get a bit more involved.
Their attack looks just boring.
Yeah, like Herbie's working really hard. And I think the halves aren't doing too bad of a job. Like, I think Kato has been very good thus far. But I really want the Hammer to get more involved. I'd like to see the Hammer get more ball, get more
rock.
Touches. Yeah, so I think that's got to be the key if the Dolphins are going to turn it around.
Dragon Storm on the Saturday afternoon, mate, and Toby Couchman moves into the starting side for David Clemmer, who makes his club debut off the bench. Toby Couchman's been a sneaky pod, and we know we like pods on this podcast, and he's been performing really well, the front rower. Looking down the list here, Moses Sewell has been named despite being playing, and Faitella Mariner drops to reserves. Not really much you like to see with the Dragons, to be honest, mate, this season.
No, apart from Couchman. Couchman, I think now with the, Clemmer's first game for the Red V, I think that Dylan Egan, I wouldn't be touching him, but he's obviously come in on the bench. Hamish Stewart's one to talk about, I think, is the only one outside of Couchman. I just think that Couchman's definitely really good because I was a bit worried with Clemmer coming in, but look, Blake Laurie's, he's been dropped. Fatala Mariner, he's been dropped. So it looks like, Couchman and Hamish Stewart look like they could be buys. Hamish Stewart has actually been sneakily going not too bad and getting pretty good minutes. He's averaging 43 points thus far this season, break even of -6. And I still think he's probably going to get those minutes now with those changes on the bench. So if you're looking for a cheap middle, Hamish Stewart at 303 is a great option.
Easy, man.
Look, Couchman's a pod, but I'm going all in to try and get Payne Haas. I think you've just got to get him.
Yeah, I agree, mate, 100%. And I know the all-out team will be getting him definitely this week. The Storm, I think the Storm's a really interesting one for their players because Hughes is out with his hand injury. Nick Meaney's out. They've got such a good run coming up, and they're such a well-oiled machine. They're going to score so many points. So who's your buys? Munster, he's your buy. I'm looking at Nelson as a potential pod if he can get some minutes back.
Or if he can get named, he's been broken bloody Meaney's jaw.
True, and he's got the concussion. That is so true.
And now he's out with concussion protocols. So that will be interesting. I think the ones you really looking at.
Pappenhausen.
Yeah,
Munster.
I think Pappenhausen and Munster are the big ones there, and Jack Howarth. I think fantasy-wise, they're the ones that I think are going to do you well. Look, Harry Grant, I'd be staying away from at the moment. I need to see him really kick into gear. And then if you want a forward, Katoa, I think's the one man there that you want to go. So Katoa, Pappenhausen, Howarth, and Munster, I think are the ones there, Cord. But look, the only changes there, like you said, Meaney's out. So Anderson actually just moves into the centres. He was on the wing last week. Warbrick's back on the sting, so he goes in there. And Hughes is out, so Wishart goes to 7. And Bronson Garlick comes in as 14th man, so he takes Wishart's spot as that utility, brother. That's really it.
Perfect, mate. Yeah, the Cowboys, Raiders, interesting team list here for the Cows is that Zach Labert's been named on the reserves, which means he's nearing a return to NRL after being in the Q Cup team over the past fortnight. Jackson Purdue actually scored really well on the weekend with a 50-point bomb with that runaway try in the end of the game. So I'm hoping he keeps his spot over Labert, but we'll soon see.
Yeah, Labert, I think, is definitely being named. He's played a couple of weeks in Q Cup, and then with the injury to Vilea, in that game with his eye. Look, I reported it earlier in the on our templates, on our Insta, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you follow us.
Yeah, wherever you get news.
He's obviously been named this week, but he could be out 1 or 2 weeks. So I think if he's out, Labert's going to come in for Vilea. I think Purdue's kept his spot after.
You reckon he's done enough?
Yeah, I was happy with Todd Payton actually sticking with the young fella, and he rewarded Payton with his best game of the year. So it was in a big game as well. In terms of Cowboys, I don't really think there's anyone really you're going to be going out and buying.
They don't look great.
Nanai's still on the bench, so it's basically the same team as last week. Labert could come in for Vilea, so that's the only real things there with the Cows, Cord.
Yeah, the Raiders, mate, Joe Tarpany returns from suspension, which means Corey Horsburgh goes to 13. I don't think that'll really impact his points consumption. I think it might even help him, to be honest, in the middle of the field. He's got to still play 50, 55 minutes, so he'll still rack up 50 points for you.
Yeah, Horsburgh's fine. He should play, like you said, 50 to 60 minutes. Hopefully he doesn't get sin-binned this week. But look, even with the sin-bin, he still pounded out a great score. So, look, if you got Starling like we did, a bit disappointing because of the blowout. Ricky basically put him on the pine after like 45, 50 minutes, and then Paddy played the rest of the game just because of the scoreline. And look, Tamale didn't have his greatest game either. But look, it's basically Smithies is the only one that's out from last week, had that concussion issue. So he'll be back next week. But look, yeah, Horsburgh is still a
It'll be
great
fine.
option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharks Bulldogs, nothing really to report fantasy-wise from the Sharks from their changes, but the big one is, do you go Cleary to Hines this week? He had a blinder on the weekend. Can we trust that Nico's going to bring that 2022, 2023 form to 2025 and potentially carry our teams this week? Like, do we back it?
Yeah, look, Nico's been good. He was especially good last week, and I think he'll go well again this week. It's just whether you really think you're happy to get rid of Cleary. Like, if you absolutely have to and you really need a half, well, then go for it. But I'd still be telling people to try and hold Cleary just with that run coming up. But Nicho Hynes definitely looked a lot better last week. And, yeah, he's goal kicking and everything now, getting a bit more kick meters in his into play as well. But, look, we all know it. We've said it on this podcast for years with Trindle. He struggles a little bit. He loses those kick meters.
Yeah.
So if something was to happen to Trindle, I'd be saying, 100% Atkinson would go to 6 and we'd be saying bye. But look, he's a great option, Cord. He'd definitely do you well this week. But, yeah, I'm not breaking the bank for someone like Nicho Hynes that I would with Payne Haas.
To be honest, everyone's saying that Nico is performing badly this year, and I'm looking at his stats, right? He got 41 fantasy points in Vegas. Not many people did well over there.
No.
Then goes against the Cowboys at North Queensland, 64, and then belts out a 74 on the weekend. He's actually averaging more than Nathan Cleary at the moment.
Yeah,
so
there's nothing wrong with
There is nothing
Nicho
wrong
Hynes.
with Nicho Hynes whatsoever. I think he's a great option, and he's only in 5.9% of teams, so it's actually a pod option there. So I would go with Cleary if you haven't already. If you want to sell Nico, if you have Haas, you want a pod, I'd go for it, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. There's only really one change between the two teams, Cord, which is Hamlin Uele's out with injury, and Hazelton returns for the Sharkies for his first game back since Vegas. So that's really it in terms of that.
Nothing for the Dogs, mate, fantasy-wise. They continue to go on. For the Eagles, Eels, Tom Trbojevic comes back after missing last week. Do I see him as a buy? Probably not. He doesn't really score very well in fantasy terms, so I wouldn't put him as a buy.
No.
Good to see Ruben Garrett grab 4 on the weekend. If you started with him, you're absolutely cheering. Big 97 points for them.
He was a hold on our buy hold sell last week because a few people were looking to get rid of him. So that was solid. Look, Turbo you can get. Look, they're versing Parramatta this week, and I can tell you now that Parramatta fought. They showed a lot of pride last week, but I just don't think they're going to get run over. That it could get ugly. And look, if you want to get Turbo, I'm not saying no. I think he's definitely more of a super coach player than he is a fantasy player, but he can definitely go off with this run that Manly have over the coming weeks. So with this Keeney injury, I could be getting him in.
I don't see any Eels players buys whatsoever. They got Sean Russell on the bench for 2 changes with winger Sean Russell and bench forward Daniel Kerr coming into the side. Look, I don't see any buys here, mate, at all.
Nah, the only ones I'd be looking at from Parramatta is the same ones that I said at the start of the season is, look, Iongi's still a hold. He went all right. He's not, setting the world on fire, but you never know. He might do a Jackson Purdue and put out a nice 50 points sometime soon. So he's definitely a hold. The only ones there worth talking about for Parramatta is Lomax and Hopgood. They're the only ones. Like Lomax had 30 carries or something like that, and Hopgood had like 60-something points. They both teed off fantasy-wise and IRL. And then the only one, I guess, that we need to talk about is just with the injury, the season-ending Achilles injury to Taniela Paseka. It looks like Nathan Brown comes in on the bench and Josh Alloway gets the start at prop. So do I say Josh Alloway is a buy or Nathan Brown? No, and neither is, look, Ethan Bullmore scored 2 tries on the weekend. Look, we love Bully. He's a nudgy old boy, but I can't say he's a buy until he gets consistent minutes. So, nothing really else to talk about in regards to those 2 teams, Cord.
Yeah, last game of the round, mate. West Tigers versus Warriors. Look, the Tigers keep getting better. One man that is an absolute gun, Terrell May, captained him on the weekend. He just keeps shitting out 70 points, which is unbelievable. Skelton keeps his spot. looking down that list for the Tigers, I don't think it's a bottom half of the ladder list. I think it's actually maybe like 10 and above.
Yeah, I was thinking that they'd be flirting around the top 8 spot.
Yeah.
So
They got a good win here. Like that's a good momentum starter for the Tigers, but nothing really.
It was a great second half against the Dolphins.
Nothing really fantasy relevant for the Tigers.
No.
The Warriors just one change to the side that beat the Roosters. Adam Pompey's shifting to the wing for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, so he's now a sell.
Yeah, he's out for he's out for a month RTS with that hamstring injury. Could be even longer. Could be around 2 months. So it's a high grade strain there for Roger. Tamari Martin's 18th man, but in regards to those two teams scored fantasy wise, I think you got to give Luke Metcalf another crack. I know it wasn't his greatest performance last week, but he had a good one the week before. So let's just see how he goes this week. And I think we can make a really good, solid choice if he's a sell or a hold after this week. Skelton, he did pick up an injury last week. It was a low grade hamstring strain. He did go off after about 45, 50 minutes. But look, I think he's been named a chance to play this week. He could be a laid out. So if you do have him, be wary of that. But look, Tyrrell May's been outstanding. Seyfarth, for people that held on to Alex Seyfarth, he crossed over for a meaty last week and got 56 points. So he's got a break even at 22 this week. So definitely be one to look to hold on to. But look, Coruscant had a great game, but I don't know. He's sharing a bit of minutes with De Silva. He had a great game, but I don't think I'd be going out and getting him. I think you just stick with your Sandon Smiths and your Mamazoulises and hold on to Connor Watson. For
they're going right, aren't they?
At your hookers, Mamazoulis has been great. So no, that's all I can really say in regards to the Wars and the Tigers squad.
Few questions from the Instagram before we wrap up for the day. Best trade in for Lucas, pretty easy one. Payne Haas if you don't have him.
Yeah, if you don't have, if you don't have Payne Haas, get Payne Haas. But if you want a like for like trade or someone in that center position, Bo Firma. We had him as a buy last week. He went well again on the weekend. Titans got a good run coming up. Pretty similar prices coming off of 61. So that's who I'd be going if you want a center.
Is Jaden Campbell a buy? Yep, absolutely. Is Bo Firma a buy? Yes, absolutely. Going through the list here, would you sell Cleary only to one man?
Yeah, no, I'd only go Cleary to Haas, or if you need a half, I don't hate going Cleary to Hines.
Yeah, Xana stuff here. Give us our money back from fantasy that they put in there falsely on the other day. It's pretty funny. Sell the brimfish. I know he was the fish of the week last week. Is it time to sell the brimfish?
Yeah, he didn't have the best performance last week, but he seems to his performances really goes down badly because of negatives like missing tackles. Look, he got 13.
I'd hold him.
You could probably
because of Ponga and Marju and the Knights having their bye. I think he's a hold this week.
Yeah, especially in that wing fullback spot. I'm with you. Yeah, give him another week.
Yeah. Look, I'm going through these lists. Pretty similar questions. Do I sell Watson again? Only to one man.
Hold. You can sell everything. So you could sell into one man. Payne Haas with anyone. But look, if you're being serious, guys like Watson, Cleary, I'd be holding unless you 100% need a halfback. They're both going to be back next week. They might lose you a bit of cash, but look, they're guns, so they're going to make it back.
Yeah. Look, pretty much all the same questions there. So we might leave it there for this week of the TLT. The boys will be back for Buy, Hold, Sell, which will be dropping Wednesday. Make sure to like, subscribe. Anything else, Tom?
No, that's it. Keep up. We appreciate the support. That's basically it. We'll see you next week for round 5's TLT.
Damn. See you then.
See ya.